So in this session, we'll cover task management in the new version of Logseq, which is Logseq in database mode. So we will cover the overview and how to update task status. We'll look at how we do or use schedule and deadline, and we'll set up a bit of extensibility using properties. And then we'll see how we can use bulk actions, and also how we surface tasks using views and maybe sort and with sort and grouping. All right, let's get into it. So we're going to use this as our task. So we'll turn these into task. So just for demo's sake. So first thing, what I'm doing right here is I am going to turn all of these into tasks. So selecting them all, and I'm using Command Enter here. So let's take a look. What do we have? So creating a task, we can use the Command Enter. I'm on Mac, so it's Command, and on Windows, it will be Control. So with that, we can easily create tasks. So we'll do the same here, and same here. Okay, so this is how we create tasks. Now, you may be wondering, okay, why are these two properties showing? And I'll cover that in the extensibility section. So these are custom properties that I've added. Okay, but let's focus on creating a task. So creating a task, Command Enter, this is what we've just done. And setting up a task using the task tag is the other method. So I'll do pound and then task, and then set a task, and that's now a task, right? So that's the second way. So we've done this, and we've also done this. Okay. The third method is we can use a slash command. So I can type slash and then to do, and we can set a to do. Or if I wanted to do set the doing state, I could set doing state here. Okay. Or I could even take it to done. So it's a task I've just completed, and just like that, we can set a task, and then change its status. So if you're wondering, well, what if I wanted to switch this back to do? I could simply do to do, and then it turns. And I'm going to use Command Enter to change that status, the status of that task. So just like that, we've completed those three. Now, how can we set task properties like status and priority, and then we'll also look at time tracking. Okay, so for this right here, what we're going to do is we see on the left side of the task we have a status right here, right? So I can click on that and change the task status to doing. Okay, now there's another way which we just saw, right? So I can do the slash command and then switch it to do again if I wanted to, right? So that's one way. So essentially these are the methods. Now there is a keyboard shortcut also that we can use to change the status. So if I escape, I have this node selected, and then I type PS on my keyboard, and from then I can switch to the task status. So this is how we change status. Now the same thing is true for task priorities. So right now the priority is not showing. That is because when we go check the task tag, we will see that priority here, it says when it's empty, its value is hidden. Okay, that's why we're not seeing it. So let's go back. We're going to press escape. And what if I want to see the hidden properties? So I will click in that node, press escape. The node is selected. and then I will do PA. Once I do PA, it's showing all properties on my task select and on my selected task. So now we see the priority here. I can change its priority. Just like with the Eisenhower matrix with urgent and important tasks. Important and urgent tasks, I guess. Yeah, so you can think of it that way and set your priorities. But in any case, these are 4 options. So I'll set urgent here. Okay, there's another way to set priorities, which is via the keyboard shortcut. So I'm going to escape one more time, and then actually let me do PA to hide all properties, and then now I will do PP, so P twice, and it pops up. I can change my priorities here, so I'll change that to high. Okay, so this is how we change. We set task status, so this is done, and this is how we set task priority. Okay, so we've completed these two tasks already. Okay, now let's look at task time tracking. Task time tracking behaves in 2 ways. One, as soon as we create a new task, and we switch its status to doing, the time tracking begins. This is why we see here, we have some 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and 7 seconds, and so on. No, this is 2 seconds, my bad. So when we are in doing state, the time tracking begins. And if we want to see the log of the status history, we see that we transition from to do to done, and so on and so forth. And it's capturing the time between any to do and doing in general when we go from to do to doing. Now, so I've mentioned that we have 2 ways, right, of when the time tracking kicks in. So when we go from to do to doing, any time we spend in the doing state is tracked. The second way is when you create a new task and you switch from to do and you go all the way to done in one go, it can track also. And for that, I'll show that here as an example. So this one has been set, right? And I will do, I'll click here and I'll set it to done. When I do that, it captured 6 minutes. So as you can see, it picked up from first to last. So keep that in mind. Different use cases, if you want to capture somewhat like from when we created the task and when you completed it, then switching from to do to done will give you that. But if you want to keep track of incremental time spent doing a work, then you will switch your task from to do to doing and back and so on. And when you make it to done, then the accumulated time will show here. If you're wondering, well, how can we see that? I'm going to switch this to done, come back to do. I'm going to do doing again, and I'm going to complete it. When I click it somewhere else, we can see we have a decent history here of the time we spent in doing state. So this is time tracking. So with that, that's taken care of, and we have completed this one. All right, so time tracking, the overview, let's say this is done, okay? Now, you may be wondering, why 16 minutes? Well, I'll set this example up. So I went from, I managed some of these states on and off, which is why we're seeing the overall cumulative 16 time. So with that, let's move on to task status. So task status, we kind of covered already that in above. So we can change task status using Command Enter. So I'll do it again. Why not? Repetition is good. So Command Enter, task status changes. And we can change task status by clicking on the icon of the status. And once again, we can change that. Now, one thing we have not covered is when we use Command Enter, it will rotate between to do, doing, and then done. which is quick, right? Now, and you've also noticed that the slash command will only give you those three options. So we can go down and then we can see the slash command. Actually, no, my bad. They're all here. So we can switch them here. But command enter will only cycle through the three statuses. So just keep that in mind. So that is how this works. And with that, we've covered this already. So I will hit command enter again and complete this task. So we know we've covered already command enter. We've covered changing using the icon of the property and slash command to change to change the status. So just one more time, don't do it, doing it one more. So done. So this is completed. Okay, schedule task and and deadline. So for schedule task, we have two options. So one is we can do single tasks, and so we can do single task or single occurrence, I should say, or we can do recurring. So for single, I'm going to make this a task. Let's assume we just started working on this. So what we want to do here is this task. I'm going to escape and then do a PA to show all properties. That's one way. Now I'm going to escape again and do PA. PA. And sorry, let's do it again. PA. PA. Good. So what we could do is, instead of showing the properties here, if I do shift click on the node icon here, and when it opens up on the right side, let me see. Yeah, so we can also open it up here if we wanted to, and then do PA. But actually, I don't have it selected. Let me go back. So here, I can do shift click and PA. So that is not showing for some reason. All right, that's fine. We can do it here. So let's do PA. Nope. One more time. PA. All right, so we can see that we have those properties here. So what we'll want to do is we will set a deadline. So to set a deadline, we click here and the date picker shows up. And with that, we pick a date. I'll say this task is due today. And once I'm done, yeah, I can click anywhere and that's it. So another way is there's a natural language input option here. So I can say tomorrow. And once I do that, we notice that the date changes to the second here. And we could do next week, and it changes. So we have options. So once I'm done, escape, and then it's set. One more. We could change it. We could set the time here. So I could say 11:41, or I could use current time. So there's an option to schedule with date only, and there's also an option to do without date. So if I do that, we see that only date is set, but date time, the time is not there. Okay, that's how we set schedule and deadline. When we set schedule. The process is similar to schedule. So I'll say this is scheduled for next Monday. And for scheduling, one thing that we're going to cover next is it's going to be a repeat task. But before that, we can see here that we've scheduled this one. So both are set to be the same date. I'll change this one again to today, and here we are. So this is how we set deadline and schedule. Now, what's the benefit of using deadline and schedule? If we go back to the journal, I'm using the keyboard shortcut GH or go home, and we will see that on our journal, we will see a scheduled and deadline, which is using a built-in query into Logseq to surface tasks that are due based on scheduled and deadline dates. So it usually picks up 7 days. So now, as we can see here, yeah, this task is showing. And once we complete that task, then that's the end of it. Okay, so let's go back. That's schedule and deadline. Now, we looked at single, and we will look at recurring. So recurring, I'm going to show you another way of scheduling. So with the slash command, we can do scheduled. So once we do that, we can pick a date, and just like that, it added a schedule. Now, the second one here, I'm going to do deadline, and we add a deadline. So I'll say this is due deadline, I'll do today. And schedule, I'll change that to be scheduled to be, oh, let's go back. Scheduled to be done tomorrow. How about that? Okay. Now, this is still an ad hoc or single occurrence one. So what I want to do is I'll re-click on the scheduled one, and then I'll click on, actually, went fast, I guess I already selected. Anyway, so to do recurring, we click on recurring here, and then we can change the frequency. So we can do every 2 days if we wanted to, or 1 day, or we could do every hour, every week, and so on. So we will pick for schedule, we'll say once a week. So once a week, and for that one, I'll say, let's pick today's date, fine. So starting today, every week, we wanted this task to be present, right? And what will trigger the change? It's based on task status being set to done. So what does that mean? If I change this task status now to done, we'll notice that the date switched from today's date, the 1st, to the 8th. And if we were to close this out again, you see it increments, it goes, it picks up the following week. So that's how scheduled task will work. And deadline is pretty much the same boat. And you can see here, so schedule, here I'm going to change that to be daily, and I'll say done starting today. So when I go back, when I'm going to use my command enter keyboard shortcut, and you see that it's now the task is due tomorrow. Once again, it's Wednesday, Thursday, so on and so forth. This is how recurring deadlines work. So and schedule. So if you ever want to use it. All right. Now, what's next? With this, I would say we've completed this task, and we've completed these. I cannot solve them because they get solved, and then new one basically is created. So that's why we kind of still see them here. Let's go one step back and then look at what we've accomplished so far. So I will close my sidebar here, and then we'll look at extensibility. So what does that mean? A task is a tag, and with tags we can add properties, as you see here. And for my use case in general, I keep a property called related project, which is of type node, and it only allows nodes that are projects, so that I can relate projects to my tasks. So that's why I have this. And we covered these already. And effort is the other one I add. So effort is of type and number, and this is to add some estimated time required to complete a given task. So that these are like less than an hour, less than 2 hours, less than 3 hours. So the way I think about it, per day, I may do one big task of 3 hours and a couple of small tasks of 1 hour, and the day is pretty much full, right? So, but once again, That's there. Now, timeline is the other one I use. That's when I feel like, well, I want to queue up some work, some tasks to be done now, and some others that must come after. So this is to do some kind of sequencing. So if and when I'm using timeline, often not using the deadline and scheduled dates. So this is more like, I wouldn't say agile, but it's more like queuing up work. So in a way that makes sense to me, essentially. So, but if there's one suggestion I'll leave you with here is, ideally, don't be tempted to add a ton of properties, because the worst thing that can happen is spending too much time managing um, properties, because they'll all show up here, right? So like I mentioned, if I'm using timeline, I'm less likely going to use the deadline and so on. So my principle is, I'll try to not have to set more than 3 properties in general. Yeah, sometimes it's more than that if it makes sense, but if for things that happen often, like tasks and so on, I'd rather not want to update a ton of properties at once. Okay, so that is how I extend my properties. So we've seen already that effort is there, the related project is there, timeline is there, and with that, I will close this out. So this task is complete. Now let's look at bulk. How do we set bulk task? So we can set bulk task using from the task tab. That's one way, or we could also be setting it from anywhere, really. So setting bulk task, we're going to use this as an example. If I select these tasks right here, um, I'm going to select from top down first, just to show something here. So once I select multiple nodes and I want to turn them into tasks, this action bar right here opens up, as we can see. So with that, I can click on the tag icon, and then I can set them as task. So now notice one thing here, only the top level ones will be turned into tasks. And that's intentional from what I've learned. And if you wanted your child nodes to be task as well, you want to select from bottom up. And now if I click here and I select task, I think there is this actually, the action bar actually is not going to set them all as tasks. And yes, okay. So the only way I know that you can use to set child nodes as tasks in bulk way is to select from bottom up and then do Command Enter, and they all turn into tasks. So now we know. So that's one way of doing bulk action from anywhere where you have nested nodes. So yeah, one more way that is there, I could select them again and then set property. I know the task has a property status. I select that one, and then I get the list of the list of statuses, and then I can turn them into doing. But once again, notice that it will do it only on the top level one. So you can do bulk set task status on nodes. So I'm not going to cover the command palette because I ran into an issue there. So we'll maybe cover that and maybe do a dedicated session for command palette and so on down the road. But in any case, this right here, I would say this is nearly complete because we have not done bulk action on a task table. So we'll do that and by clicking on tasks. Okay, so I often have my task tag in my navigation bar. So if you don't see it, you click on next to navigation, you have a checkbox, you have a funnel, and then you can check task here. So if I do that, it shows. So task is always on the side here for me. So with that, I can click on it here and it opens up, and go into collapses, and we see our properties. We don't need to see them anymore, so collapse that. Now we have the task list right here, right? So it says we have all of them, and what I would like to do is, actually, let's go back one more time. So I'm going to turn these into tasks because we're going to need them. So let's click these, and I'll do Command Enter. All right, good. So now let's go to task tab, the tasks tag table, and we see the table view, and we have our new task here. So I'm going to select a couple of them, just like on the other side when we saw the action bar, we have them here again. So click on that. They're already tasks, so we don't need to do much. But what we can do instead while we're here, because we're now in the context of tasks, we can do bulk actions, for example, right? So I could set properties if I wanted to. I mean, there is nothing that stops us from doing it this way. And I can say doing, and it changed on one of them. It changed on the other. Let me try again, status. And let me do done. It changed on one, not all of them. Now I'm not sure why. So we may have to report this one. Okay, so let me try, kind of feel like, let me try without that single one. Let's try one more time. So status and that, and we do, there you go. So that worked. So I had a mix of statuses, so it's rotating based off that. So anyway, so now we see that we can set bulk action this way. So that can be useful. So if I wanted to add additional tags to this, I could do it this way here. So I could select and turn them and add also a goal. So that's how I can add multiple tags. You can see here, these are tags, but also they're goals. So that is one way. But on the task view here, one cool thing that we can do here is we can also use set the values of our various properties. So like I mentioned, I have a related project. So I'll say, for example, this task is related to this project and that one and so on, right? And priorities can be set here too. So with the table, we can easily manage some of those items here, and deadline, same thing. So that is essentially how bulk actions can happen here. So now let's go back for a moment, and then I'm going to collapse these tests, and we'll look at task views for a second here. So task views, we'll create one, and then we'll also look at the group by and sort by. So to do that, we go back to our tasks, and on here, by default, Logseq will add the all view. I've already added a deadline view, so we can add one more. So click on the plus sign, and then we rename this one as schedule. So this view that we created, we want to filter our tasks to only show us, for example, tasks that are not done but have a scheduled date. So what I'll do first, I'll say, well, we want scheduled tasks. Okay, scheduled tasks that have a date. That means that are not empty, right? And then next, if we can verify that, right? So we see that these tasks, they do have scheduled date. Perfect. Okay, let's look at it next. So we filter again, and we said what? We only want the ones that are not done. Okay, so filter by status, and then we say done. Okay, but done is the opposite of what we want. So we do status is not done. Now we end up with tasks that must be completed. So with this, I could say, well, I have two tasks that I need to work on. How about this one and that's urgent, and this one is lower. So if using the usage of priority matters to you, you can simply do that. Now, you may be wondering, well, why are we seeing all of these spread out tables? I'm hoping these change down the road, but the bottom line is this is what we have. So I'm going to slide around a little bit to change my order, because now I'm using priorities in this context and I'm using to do. I'll make it so, yeah, I have task in to do state. And let's say if I wanted to change this to doing, okay, so I'm working on this. Once I'm done with that, I'll move to this one. And am I even doing that based on what? Yeah, but I'm kind of managing based on urgency here. Anyhow, so this is how we create a view, and this is how we do filtering and make meaningful views to surface tasks that we have. Let's look at how we can do a group by. So group by allows us to when we have multiple tasks by project and so on, for example, we could do it. So let's prove that for a second. So launch a rocket, Logseq demo, and I can click on group by, and I will do related project, and now we can see that we have task group by projects. So that's kind of cool, isn't it? Next, I'll do group by status. If that's what matters to you, you can do that as well. Or even you can group by urgency. So if that's the way you want to chunk your work. And you can see effort here. So same thing. So these tasks, they do have effort of 1 hour. I'll pretend that this task needs more hours. So if I do that, then the UI is not going to refresh right away. So I'm going to go and come back, and then I can see that I have a task that under 3 hours bucket or the 1 hour bucket. So there we have it. Now, last part, sort by. This one, there's a bug, unfortunately. So I think this feature is actually new, like less than 10 days ago, 10 days old. So, but I just ran into this bug here, so I will report it, and hopefully we see that fixed soon. With that, we are pretty much ready to wrap. So we have completed task views as well. And we've looked at schedule, group by, sort by, and believe that is a wrap. So this has been taken care of. With this, this is task management in Logseq. And if you have questions, comments, you know where to leave them. And if you want to interact with the community, join Discord. And I hope you like it. If at a later date there is we have questions in enough requests, maybe I'll make a demo about how task management and project management work within the new Logseq version. So have fun. Thank you for listening.